coming close to me. Flows on atomic, I'm starting fires through poetry. The heart's out, staying loyal, no falling out. And if you step into the court, be ready, we ballin' out, yeah. I just gotta go hard. Go hard, go hard, go hard.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to iGaming Next Weekly News. We are live, and it gives me great pleasure to be joined once again by Mr. Nico Janssen. After, I think, 2 weeks, 2 streams you've missed now, Nico. Is it good to be back?
It's awesome being back. Yeah, sometimes you just need to recover a little bit. And first of all, thank you for, giving me the time and space to recover a little bit. And I'm back and thrilled, to be honest. Hopefully you've been able to, deal with the last 2 weeks. But I'm pretty sure there had been someone else taking my place. But sometimes it's just good as the original is back.
Exactly. We've managed, but it's not been the same without you. And obviously, we'll see the return of 10 and 5 a little later on the show, which should please a lot of people. First of all, though, I'd like to thank our sponsors in Place and Hub 88 for making this stream possible. It's great for us to be able to join you live every week. And also, don't forget that if you're watching on LinkedIn or on YouTube, you can comment live and get involved in the discussions. So please do so. We love our shows to be as interactive as possible. So coming up in the show, we've got, I spoke to David Flynn, who is doing an amazing bicycle ride for charity at the moment, which will play you in a few minutes' time. And then me and Nico are going to talk about the latest regulations in Ontario, where they look to be following other regulated markets with a bit of a marketing ban on celebrities. But more on that later. Let's ease Nico back into the formula with his favorite 10 and 5.
Okay. Yeah, I'm always looking for seconds, so just give me a head start. As Star Entertainment, it's financial season, so quarterly reports and half-year reports are posted, and Star Entertainment posted a 1.2 billion pounds loss. So the troubled Australian casino operator Star Entertainment Group has announced a full year loss of 2.4 billion US dollars, which is equal to 1.2 billion pounds, as it counted the costs of a write-down in the value of its casinos in Sydney, Gold Coast, and Brisbane. So quite interesting, and we will see where this one ends. The Q2 2023 numbers of every matrix result in a profit margin hits 55% during 7th consecutive record quarter. So an upturn of 55%. Every matrix has announced its 7th consecutive record-breaking quarter, showcasing a remarkable rise in its profit margin of 55%. So in the Q2 2023 update, every matrix revealed a net revenue of 27 million euros, which is 23.2 million pounds, and EBITDA of 15 million euros, indicating a year-on-year increase of incredible 82% totally. Rivalry reports a 60% revenue surge and eyes profitability in H1 2024. So in Q2, re-delivered a nearly threefold increase in handle year over year, said Stephen Sauls, who is the co-founder and CEO of Rivalry. So just to give you some indicating numbers, the betting handle for the 3 month period ended in June 30th was 112.2 million US, which represents an increase of astonishing 73.8 million, or in numbers, 192% from a former 38.4 million in Q2 2022, while reducing a marketing spend year on year of 6%. The revenue was positive with 8.2 million in Q2 2023 and representing an increase of 3.2 million, or 60%. Then heading over to PointsBet, as the shareholders have agreed to a cash return scheme. As we all know, PointsBet shareholders have approved a plan that will net them up to 295 million after Fanatics completes its acquisition of their US business early next year. So as said, as already pointed out, PointsBet has been bought by Fanatics. Then heading over to the Nordics, as the Betsson Group launches its flagship brand in Denmark. So Betsson Group has launched its flagship brand in Denmark by rebranding Casino.dk into Betsson.dk. So this brand will coexist alongside NordicBet, another brand from the Betsson Group that is already operating in the Danish market. By introducing this named online casino into the market, Betsson hopes to expand its reach in Denmark in addition to Betsson and NordicBet. Betsson Group currently operates in over 20 different online gambling markets, online gambling brands, including poker, bingo, sports betting, and scratch card platforms as well. And now, thrilled to announce something else, as Yahoo and William Hill open a revamped sportsbook at the Venetian in Las Vegas. So Yahoo and the Venetian Resort Las Vegas have agreed a multi-year animation rights deal to open a Yahoo sportsbook powered by William Hill on the casino floor. And just to give you a slight introduction, this sportsbook features a 12,000 square foot space and a 46 million pixel, 1,770 square foot LED video screen that can show up to 40 events simultaneously. Or, as the president and CEO of the Venetian Resort, Patrick Nichols, states, we wanted to create the best place on the strip to watch sports. So, Yahoo, welcome to the iGaming vertical as well. And then still staying in the US, despite growing attention, sports betting ad impressions is up 25%. As attention to sports betting ads grows across North America, operators are adjusting their approach, but not slowing down their marketing. So, from the time span of January 1st to August 15, we are seeing a year-on-year growth of 25%, according to the ad tracking firm of iSpot. And as you might be interested in who's paying the most, its US market leader FanDuel is the dominant ad power in the first part of 2023, accounting for almost 50%, or being precisely 48.8% of all impressions, followed by DraftKings, as they drew 20.7% of impressions. And it's just 3 more to go, as the MGA bites back against criticism of Bill 2055. Legislative amendment. So the Malta Gaming Authority, MGA, has sought to convey clarity, accuracy, and transparency regarding recent criticism of amendments to the Maltese Gaming Act, as known as Bill 55. Specifically, Bill 55 seeks to adopt the Maltese government's long-standing public policy on gambling into national law and would prevent enforcement against MGA licensed operators for sure. Then we have an update on the Curacao gaming license fee, which is set up at 49,000 euros per annum, starting by 1st of September. And last but not least, we will see New Zealand wants to tax offshore gambling as well, and the new taxes on foreign-owned real estate and the removal of current business tax breaks are on the table. Those changes, according to projections, could bring more than 1.2 billion New Zealand dollars, which is equal to 760 million US to the economy. And as we have seen already in New York, taxation is always a big issue and usually paving the way for regulation as well. And these are my 10 and 5.
Fantastic job, Nico, as ever. Thank you very much. And you're back with a bit of a bumper edition of 10 and 5, closer to 10 and 10, I think. But you've given the people what they want, and they've come out in the comments, which is great to see. So hello to Hemal and to Sasha and to Venaki. Thank you for joining us. And of course to Bogdan, a regular viewer, who says F1 would look really good on that Las Vegas sportsbook screen you were talking about there. And also to Oleg, who raises some really interesting points about the Ontario ad ban. So I'll put that in my back pocket, and we can come back to that when we discuss that in a few moments' time. But first of all, Nico, obviously we know the gambling industry gets a bit of a tough time in the media, but something it's fantastic at that goes under the radar a lot of the time is its charitable initiatives. I'm sure you'll agree. So we like to shine a light on those whenever we can. And I don't know if you might have missed it earlier this week, but David Flynn, who's been an executive in the gambling industry for a long time now, most recently is the chief executive of Glipnor Group, is putting his body and his mind well and truly to the test as he cycles on a journey across Europe from Sweden to Malta, more than 4,000 kilometers, as he tries to raise money for mental health charities. And he was kind enough to take some time out of his incredibly busy schedule to have a short catch-up conversation with me earlier. And I'm hoping, if Elizabeth is pressing the right buttons in the background, we'll be able to bring you that interview now. Hello, David. First of all, thank you so much for finding time in your incredibly busy schedule to be able to join us today and provide an update. I guess the first question is, where are you at the moment?
First off, thanks very much for having me. Right now, I'm on a ferry between Denmark and Germany on my way to Rostock. So just made it with about 4 minutes to spare. So I can have a rest now and grab some lunch for a couple of hours before continuing the journey. Okay, going south of Rostock this afternoon.
Yeah, that sounds full on, and most people are glad to be back on dry land, but I expect you're quite glad to actually be having a bit of a break on the boat.
Yeah, I have to say it wasn't an easy start to the morning this morning. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, okay. And just for, obviously we've written a story and you've been updating viewers on LinkedIn as well, but just for those who might not be so familiar with your trip, do you want to explain just how far you're going and also why you're doing this?
Yeah. So for some idea, I decided to cycle from Sweden to Malta. It's not an electrical bike, so it's all. And I'm doing it for mental health. A number of different charities, 3 different charities: the Richmond Foundation in Malta, Mind.se in Sweden and mind.org.uk in the UK. Two totally different ones, those two Mind charities, by the way. But it's all about to raise awareness for mental health and to raise funds for these fantastic organisations that are helping people in those particular countries.
Yeah, that's a fantastic cause and an amazing thing that you're doing. Obviously, like you said, it's to raise money for mental health, but this must have been pretty grueling on your own mental health. I mean, are there any times when you've kind of wanted to give up, or are you taking it all in your stride so far?
Have you seen my videos? I have to say, the first, in total, it's just shy of 4,200 kilometers. The first few days in Sweden, I set off from Stockholm on last Friday, and the first few days were just torrential rain and a headwind. And I have to say, at the end of a couple of those days, it was just, I'd had enough already. But you grab a shower, you have a bite to eat, get some sleep, even though my legs really want to keep pedaling while I'm sleeping, which feels a bit bizarre.
Really?
And then get up in the morning and do it all again. Met some amazing people along the journey. Caught up with an old friend yesterday in Copenhagen, who joined me for half the morning.
Great.
And just meet people along the way. Talk a lot to them because it's quite a lonely trip, I have to say. And now it's day 7, off to Germany.
Great. So day 7, you're going to be on the road for how long was it? Around 34 days. So
it's 34 days. Yeah, I've put in three rest days in between, but that's giving it some actually. I may need to do something about one of those rest days and use it, but let's see. Yeah,
for sure. And I mean, this isn't your ordinary kind of cycle to work. You must have had to put in quite some training to even be able to take on a task like this in the first place.
I mean, I've always been had a love of cycling ever since I was like 16, and but this I've put in more training this year than I've ever done before, for sure. I did as many kilometers in the first 5 months this year as I did in the whole of last year, just training for this. And then wow. I rested in the beginning of August, just so that me and my bike would have a nice relationship for the next month, and then get going. It's about resting the body, resting the mind, trying to get rid of everything that you really need to get done as well before because my phone is the only thing I have in order to get things done, and I don't really have that much time. It's about planning every night for maybe 10 nights ahead, depending on how I'm going, and making sure that everything's sorted out.
Yeah, of course. You're traveling light, but it's great that you've got your phone and you're able to join us today. Obviously, a lot of people in the industry know you already, and up until very recently, you were the chief executive of Glitnor Group. I guess my question is, are you missing work, or have you enjoyed a break? There probably weren't too many times in your career where you would have had time to do something like this otherwise. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, when I decided to step down from the CEO role, the founders of the company were super supportive, actually. So now I'm on the board of Glitnor. It gives me a lot more time to be able to do this kind of thing. And I haven't really had a break for 20 years. So I think it's about time that I do something that's for a good cause and something for myself as well. I mean, this is as much for my own mental health. Riding a bike every day, it takes a certain amount of energy mentally as well as physically. So it makes a big change. But I have to say my wife supported me throughout as well. Great kudos to my wife and my kids as well for supporting me. I get messages every day. It's brilliant. Yeah, that is great. You must need some support network around you. And another motivational factor, David, is the fact that you've already surpassed your £9,000 target,
which is excellent. And hopefully the donations will continue to roll in. We'll make sure to give it a plug in our weekly news live stream this afternoon. But I noticed that you're planning to end up in Malta, in Valletta. Have you got any celebrations planned for when you cross that finish line, so to speak?
Maybe a mini one. I think what I've promised myself is that I'll have a beer in a new country. So half a chisk, quite nice. But otherwise, no.
Perfect way to celebrate.
Yeah, it's just really. I think just seeing my wife and kids again will be enough for me to celebrate getting back home. To be honest.
Yeah, I can imagine. Well, I'm sure you're looking forward to that point. And once again, thank you so much for joining us today. I'll let you get off and actually get some much needed rest and recuperation rather than talking to us on the live stream. Thank you, David.
Thanks very much, Jake. Really appreciate it. Take care.
Sure. Best of luck. Thank you. Bye-bye. Yep. So David Flynn there earlier this morning, who is going to have calves like Jack Grealish, I think, Nico, by the time he gets to Malta next month. An amazing initiative. You weren't tempted to meet him as he got off the ferry today and accompany him on his cycle ride through Germany?
Yeah, exactly. I'm already literally on my way to welcome him on the German border. And the good thing about Germany, there are no speed limits on the autobahn, so he can probably make up some time for getting his overall target and reaching Malta in the designated time frame he just pointed out. But just, to put each and everything a little bit into perspective, right? Because as soon as you speak about numbers like, he's riding his bike a little bit, he is on a bike trip from Sweden to Malta. Or in other ways, roughly, if I'm not mistaken, 4,500 kilometers, which is 800 kilometers more than the Tour de France. So wow. He is pushing and punishing himself even more than the top cyclists of the world, just for the good cause. And this just amplifies and points out how designated he is to the cause he's collecting money for. And once again, shout out to David, and please scan the little barcode and donate for the charity events. David is taking this little bit of effort, and I'm pretty sure each and everybody of us should value his effort as well, like I'm doing now as well. Just let me type in one number, exactly. And then my donation is on its way as well, and everybody else should do the same as well.
Agreed. And exactly, you can scan the QR code at the top left if you'd like to donate. And the great news is, Nico, David's already surpassed his target of £9,000 and is currently on 9,825. So I think it would be great if we could push him past the £10,000 mark on this stream. That would be absolutely awesome. But yeah, best of luck to David. I'll follow him on LinkedIn if you want some updates of his journey over the next 25 days or so. We'll be keeping a close eye on that. Back to the iGaming news then, Nico, and a fairly big story this week coming out of Canada, Ontario, the regulated province to be precise, where we've seen the regulator release some guidance on a new advertising ban. So basically, they've amended their regulation to stop operators from using athletes and celebrities in gambling marketing. So from the 28th of February 2024, the use of athletes will be prohibited, as will the use of celebrities, especially those who are of particular appeal to minors, which is language we've heard before in other territories. So yeah, basically the regulator said that these marketing techniques have the potential to cause harm to those under legal gambling age in Canada, and has therefore decided to put laws in place after consultations with public health organisations, gambling operators, and several other stakeholders, basically. What was your initial reaction to this, Nico, before we dive into some of the feedback?
So, first of all, it's like, oh my gosh, another regulator going for the low-hanging fruits, denying science and scientific research, with kind of banning this advertisements. And I'm pretty sure we had the same conversation, literally the same conversation, when we touched on the banning of shirt sponsorships in the Premier League. Then, of course, gambling companies are not allowed to be being involved in any sponsorships in the Premier League. Besides this, the Dutch and Belgium regulators banned gambling sponsorships as well. And the fun fact is, there is no underlying science that would value any of these measures. But there is, and there exists still, one paper which has been the result of an empirical study in Germany, consisting of the feedback of 13,000, so 13,000 customers, which had been asked if their gaming actions change based on advertisements. So, based on this scientific research, 82%, so a significant amount of people stated, okay, our gaming behavior, playing behavior does not change at all. So 18%, their gaming behavior changes. So, of course, you could put this one aside like, okay, it has no effect at all. But, and this is quite interesting, a significant amount of 47% of probably problem gamblers stated that their gaming behavior changed as soon as they have seen an advertisement. And this is what we're all looking forward to get the probably problem gamblers into the safe haven of regulated operators. So if you take away all these advertisements, especially for those celebrities and sportsmen and sportswomen who can actually reach the Gen Z, of course, you all also take away these kind of advertisements for the licensed operators, which will then lead to the overall result of these probably problem gamblers will open up accounts for or at unlicensed operators. And cutting a long story short, these not licensed operators couldn't care less about safe havens for probably addictive behaviors, and so on and so on and so on. So from my perspective, the argument doesn't change. There is science out there, and I'm pretty sure you read the latest and greatest article, which will probably come to the same conclusion like I did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And you mentioned obviously a public survey there, and I think those are important. And I was listening to the Gaming News Canada podcast this week with Steve McAllister, which is really good. And Paul Burns was on the Canadian Gaming Association chief, and he was basically saying that most complaints so far in Canada have been just about seeing advertising. There's too much advertising, as we quite often see in newly regulated territories. It was the same in the Netherlands. And he said that Ad Standards Canada received 130 complaints about gambling adverts. But 93% of those were just about seeing the advertising at all. And actually less than half of those complaints came from Ontario, which is the only regulated province as it stands. But interestingly, none of those complaints were to do with the content of the ads. So it seems to me like a bit of a leap for the regulator to then say, well, the solution to these complaints is to remove, athletes, celebrities, etc., because it doesn't seem to be an issue for the majority of the public, really, whether they're gambling consumers or not. And a few people have asked the question, if the issue is the amount of gambling advertising, why not move to introduce a kind of, advertising windows or kind of a whistle to whistle ban like we've seen some companies voluntarily do in the UK and in Australia? Surely that would have been a more logical place to start, Nico, than just outlawing, celebrities and famous people from the beginning.
Exactly.
The other thing to mention is that if we look at the kind of small print of the regulator's announcement, it says so that these amended standards apply to celebrities, role models, social media influencers, entertainers, cartoon characters, and symbols that would likely be expected to appeal to minors. So if we just go back to Oleg's question in the chat about, we know Drake is a well-known ambassador for Stake. He plays their casino on live streams and things like that. That's not technically above the line advertising, is it? You don't see Drake on Stake television ads, for example, but he is still promoting the brand just by playing with its services. And I guess, the fact that questions are coming in on this chat is a microcosm, Nico, of the problem we face with any gambling regulation, and that is basically how these rules are going to be interpreted. And they're probably going to have different interpretations from operators than from the regulators. And if that interpretation differs, that's where the problems arise.
Exactly. Just by usually putting a stop at specific adverts, or prohibiting some verticals, this usually results in a higher demand of that specific vertical as well. We've seen that in the banning of alcohol back in the 1920s in New York, in the US. Of course, the black market operations increased significantly, etc. So why don't these regulators just think what their aim should be? And their aim should be, guiding people into regulated markets. First of all, by banning advertisements, you literally take away this chance of regulated operators to, advertise their own business. And or what they could also do is like, okay, first of all, whenever you have 4 advertisements on TV, at least one of them with the same celebrity which you're using as your brand ambassador should highlight a safe haven or kind of be aware of, please seek for help if blah, 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 blah. So literally enforcing the Gen Z or people actually watching the TV advert, that there's also a downside of an offering as well. And if you kind of feel that, you're slipping, that you should and could seek for help at XYZ address. And I'm pretty sure by doing so, instead of banning something, just emphasizing that, okay, please seek for help, that this would result in an even better journey to zero, which we're all well aware of our Nordics brand as well, would result in a significantly higher output on preventing gambling problems from increasing.
Yeah, that's very interesting that you mentioned that, Nico. It's a good point. And if you read the small print, there is actually one exception, and that is for the exclusive purpose of advocating for responsible gambling practices. So celebrities and athletes will be allowed to advertise gambling, but only responsible gambling practices in Ontario. Yeah, it remains to be seen, what operators' approach to that is, I suppose. But again, going back to that Gaming News Canada podcast, I think it was the head of PointsBet's Canadian business that raised a really interesting point. And he said, we have to consider a return on every single dollar that we spend, right, as a gambling operator. And we use these celebrities and these athletes primarily for acquisition purposes. And responsible gambling advertising, as important as it is not an acquisition tool. So, you know, it moves the dial on whether it's worth operators doing these kind of deals any longer. So yeah, we'll see. It's going to be a bit of a acclimatizing period, I think, for Ontario operators as they get used to this new guidance. There will be different interpretations, but I suppose one thing they might look at is other markets that have enforced similar regulations. So celebrities and athletes have been banned from gambling marketing in the Netherlands since June 2022 and also banned in the UK since October 2022. So there is a precedent for this. But with that said, the UK ban causes headaches on a fairly regular basis, to be honest with you, because the interpretations are different. And these are governed by the Advertising Standards Authority, who have the final say. And there's a few cases that have come out this year that have, made for some head scratching, really, about whether Premier League footballers represent, particular appeal to under 18s. What about retired footballers who are playing before 18-year-olds would have been interested in football? You had a case with Chris Eubank Jr., who was advertising Ladbrokes on Twitter, Bet365 on Twitter. And that was deemed to be fine by the Advertising Standards Authority because they said that his social media following doesn't appeal to under 18s. But then there are boxers like, Logan Paul, for example, who advertise gambling services, who definitely would appeal to under 18s. So the regulators have opened a bit of a Pandora's box with this, I think, and a lot of Canadian operators will be banging on their door, hoping for some answers to some questions, I think.
Exactly, and not just referring to the Paul brothers. Jake Paul is not just advertising a gaming product; he owns a gaming product, right?
Exactly.
With Better. So that's also an interesting fact as well. And for sure, we will get some numbers. First of all, from the UK Gambling Commission, which already banned advertisements, as you mentioned, and from the Dutch one as well. And then we will see for sure if these ad bans literally led to any kind of positive outcome as well. As of now, I don't see any positive outcome as said based on the underlying evidence of a scientific paper. But maybe the Dutch and the UK players will prove this scientific paper wrong or totally wrong if probably this underlying argument of just banning each and everything might be wrong. I don't. Probably we would see a different outcome as well. But usually, as it is with politicians, once something is forbidden, they tend to not allow it anymore.
Yeah, and you almost predicted my next question there, Nico, by mentioning Jake Paul, who obviously is the co-owner of Better, and their whole marketing strategy in general is basically to leverage his brand and other social media influencers. And I was wondering, what would happen if US state regulators took a look at Ontario and thought, oh yeah, we like that regulation. Maybe we'll look to implement it ourselves. We know how massive celebrity endorsements are in America in general, and it's the same for gambling operators, right? You think, Jamie Foxx at BetMGM, those ads would no longer be allowed, and Caesars with Vince Vaughn and JB Smoove, like they would no longer be allowed, and acquisitions even more competitive in the US than it is pretty much anywhere else in the world right now. So I guess the only sort of silver lining for them is that it's obviously, it's regulated on a state by state basis. So even if one state were to implement these laws, there's no guarantee that that all of them would, as they've hedged their bets quite nicely across separate states.
Exactly. And as of now, we don't see or hear any rumors regarding any of the, if I'm not mistaken, 33 licensed US states. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I think that's
that
right.
They might be looking for banning adverts as well. So they are still on the glory path, if you're asking me. So we will just see how it actually turns out in, as said, the Netherlands, Belgium, the UK, and in Ontario. We are seeing the same arguments in Germany as well, which is usually brought up by some left-wing activists, politicians who are literally just, seeking for low-hanging fruits and just getting some voters, swinging voters, to vote for them in the favor of them. So we will just see how it actually turns out. Usually these rumors actually apply or come up as soon as there's a big election, and this is one of the these arguments where some of the politicians might just convince swinging voters to vote in their favor as well.
Yeah, that's right, exactly. Okay, we've hit a nice round 40 minutes there, Nico. So I think we'll call time on today's stream. It's been awesome to have you back. I'd like to thank everybody as well that's taken the time to comment, to Gabriel and also to Katie. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you also to our sponsors for this week, Playson and Hub 88. Nico, any final words before we say goodbye?
Yeah, just one word. We nearly hit the £10,000 overall funding. So if you still did not yet, spend some quids on the charity GoFundMe of David, please do so. We have the donate here button once again, and I'm pretty sure we will just literally hit the 10K overall spending just within a couple of minutes. And I'm pretty sure David is collecting the money for three charity events, three charity foundations, and so he's not taking his own body and his own mind to the extreme for his own pleasure. He is literally sacrificing himself for the greater good of three charity foundations, and just help this man out with some spending some quids as well.
Yeah, very noble indeed. And thank you very much for your generous donation there, Nico. I'll donate after we log off as well. So we'll definitely get beyond that £10,000 mark. So well done, everybody. And well done again to David. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you at the same time next week. Goodbye.
Bye.